Coming out of the first scrimmage, what were your main takeaways from the performance?
I think we're playing faster. I think we're communicating better. I think the details in like our technique and our fundamentals, we're constantly seeing improvement. Those are the biggest things we're looking for right now. We've taken a step up now. I think we just need to continue to build on that this week. And that's been the number one objective, just faster to the football, better communication every play, and then just fine-tune all the different techniques and fundamentals for every position, every level. And just constantly finding, competition with the guys, putting them in different spots, putting them in different roles, to make sure, we're finding the best guys in the best positions for this fall.
Who would you say are the best communicators right now?
I think we have a lot of guys that communicate really well. I think our safeties right now are talking really well, communicating. The linebackers is a group of guys that have a really good understanding right now of the concepts and what we're trying to do, and being able to communicate from the front to the back end and get everyone on the same call, the same track. I'm really excited about the way that it's progressed from spring football to now early in fall camp. And those are the biggest things that we're still just working on communicating every single day. Just making sure everyone on defense is, dialed in with the same, same call, same job every single time.
With the linebackers specifically, with Mo and Kamal, since they came in, just what stood out about them the first couple weeks since they started with you guys this fall?
I think both guys compete, and that's the biggest thing. Guys that come in right away just looking for an opportunity, get on whatever package it is, wherever it is in the defense, and then they compete. And then the thing that I think is awesome is our guys in the room brought them in right away. Part of the family from day one, right away, adding depth to the room, bring different intangibles, the way that the speed, the way that they run the football, how they close on the ball in different areas like that. And I think both in the box and out of the box, there are guys that help us first, second, and third down with some different things they do.
How are you guys performing with generating takeaways during camp, and is there anyone in particular standing out as?
Yeah, it's like Dylan Day is, wherever he is, be careful. He's going to get the ball out right now. And there's a group of guys that every day they're obsessed with the ball. And it's, that's the number one thing in practice. How many strip attempts do we get and how many times does the ball touch the ground? If the ball is down, we're knuckles, we're scooping and scoring. And then, if the ball's in the air, we have to have it. It's been the number one message. And, we start every single unit meeting with the ball game. How many times did we affect the ball in practice today? There's been days where it's been good, and there's other days where the offense has done a really good job protecting the football. So we have to make sure, in camp it's like weird. We want to get as many as we can, but on offense they don't want to give it to us all. But we do as many drills as we can. Try to affect throwing lanes from the quarterback, and strip attempt drills or different ways to get the football out in our indie periods and in our defensive periods. But that's been the number one message. We have to be obsessed with football and defense.
Mario said that Ruben Bain, obviously a lot expected from him, but he said he's having a great camp. Just what stood out the most about him through the last 13 practices?
I think it's the way he goes about the process. He's a guy, when he gets the meetings, he already knows the install. He knows exactly what to do. If he doesn't, he has good questions. He's locked in unit meetings, locked in position meetings. And then the way he goes through his indie, the way he goes through group, the way that he goes through the team periods, he does it like a true professional. It is, technique, alignment, does his job every single play, and then swamps the football. Whether it's a 30-yard pass down the field or it's a TFL in the backfield. And, and he's a great guy for, I think, the younger guys to watch. The way that he comes out, he's detailed, he hits his target, he's got great get off, he's got great pad level, he swamps to the football, he's detailed in how he finishes every single rep. And then after practice, he's one of the guys, when you walk back up in the office, he's down working on whatever it was that day in practice that he needs to clean up. Whether it was something in the pass rush, or the finish, or something on a movement up front, or an angle he was working on block destruction. He's always working at his craft to continue to get better at what he does. And that's why I think it's awesome for the younger guys. This is a guy that has done a lot, so far in college football. He's constantly trying to get better. He's constantly trying to improve his game, which is what I love to see.
Hey, Coach, well, first of all, will you be calling the game from upstairs or on the field?
I'm still kind of going through exactly where I'll be right now.
Okay. What did you do last year?
Last year I was down.
You were down, okay.
I've gone from both. So.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about, I know the defense is multiple and all that, but do you feel like this group in particular is as good stopping the run? Because we know it's really good stopping the pass, it seems like all the personnel. Do you feel like they're there now in terms of stopping the run also, or is that still sort of work in progress? I know you can't tackle the ground that much in the fall because you don't have injuries, but do you have a sense of that?
Yeah, and I think our guys are continuing to get better at it. And that's one of those things, you go against our offense every day, that's a hard task. And then the second thing is, was it a tackle, was it not a tackle, did he break it? So like a lot of the plays right now in camp, they extend where, it's always hard. You're doing a drill where it's like, well, is it going to be 3rd and 1 or is it 3rd and 9? Or was that explosive and that was a first down? Did he make a rapid roll or did he not? But I think our guys, their technique, their fundamentals, how square we play the line of scrimmage, how we try to knock the line of scrimmage back, the way that we're finishing on ball carriers right now, at the point of attack at all 3 levels, the way that our guys have been handling like tackling circuit in some of those situations where we're putting them in the situations, and it may not be against one of our backs, it may be against a bag or someone else in that running back position. I think our guys are constantly getting better at those fundamentals and techniques. And tackling right now, we do that every single day. It's part of our, what we do in our everyday drills on defense. Circuit fours, we tackle different phases, and then against the offense, that's one of those things where it's like a heavyweight fight. Some days they're leaning on us a little bit, other days we start to feel good about it. But it's an area that we're constantly. It's got to be the number one thing, and we have to take the ball away, and then we have to win the line of scrimmage every single day.
What's one thing you learned about Miami football, or the city of Miami since arriving here in 2010?
It's a beautiful place. No, Miami's awesome. I mean, there's so many different things to do. There's, people are very friendly. The cultures, the opportunities. You can be, doing something on the water one minute, you can be somewhere else another minute. There's great professional sports teams. The one thing I love right now is people love the U. I mean, everywhere you go, people love the University of Miami. They love the teams here. They follow them, and that's something that's a really cool thing to be a part of.
Can you talk about the competition at corner, the depth you have? How many guys do you feel like you're going to be comfortable playing in games this year?
Yeah, right now, we're probably around 5 guys, but there's some guys that, are still learning the position a little bit. They've been playing really well. We got a couple of young guys, Jabori and Chris, that I think have really taken off and are doing a really good job competing every single day, getting better at their technique, getting better at their fundamentals. They do a really good job competing in practice, especially when they're in situations. On offense, I think we have some really good talent, and it's some of the guys that are playing are doing a good job right now, constantly getting better. And then our veteran guys are some of the guys that have played. It's a competition every single day, and it could be a rotation, it could be by certain packages or by certain series. But right now, there's a really good group of guys that I feel like that position. As long as we continue to stay healthy and compete, I think we have a good group in that room. And I think coach is doing a really good job.
Do you feel like you have guys that can hold their own or execute in man coverage in particular?
That's every day. That's we'll throw different situations out there where we want to just play man and see how we go. Just play a different zone and see how we hold up. And guys, every single day, whether it's in a one-on-one period or it's a period where we're trying to play maybe a little bit more man coverage, I think our guys are continuing to get better at it. It's hard sometimes. It's no pass rush, 7-on-7 or 1-on-1. Other times, maybe the D-line affected it. Maybe it wasn't a win, but our guys are competing in that role, and we'll be very multiple where they'll be in that situation, and maybe they won't be in that situation. So, but I think they've accepted the role. They're doing a really good job competing right now, and I do think it's a room where you'll see multiple guys on the field.
Talk to us about Xavier Lucas. What have you seen?
X loves competition. He attacks it every single day. He's constantly improving. He's a bigger guy who uses his size very well. He's a physical player, and he's a guy that constantly is working. He's another guy that anytime you look out in the indoor, he's down there. He's always in watching film. He's always asking questions. He's always working on his technique, and he's constantly getting better at it. And he's one of those guys. If he lost yesterday on that rep, if he gets the same rep today, I know he's going to win that rep because he's constantly improving, and he's getting more and more detailed in the way he approaches it every day.
Corey Scott, I think you said at media day that whether you can play more outside or more nickel is kind of like the $1 million question. Just what have you seen from him through the first set of practices?
You can tell, the way that he approaches it. And we have a handful of older guys that, have been in camp, but you wouldn't know. Comes in every day, he's one of the first guys in the building, one of the last guys out of the building. He's constantly asking questions, constantly out, constantly watching film. He's a guy that, he knows multiple positions, he reps at multiple positions. And, he's a guy that, every day is getting better the way he attacks it. And, he's just a true veteran. It's awesome for the younger guys to kind of see it, different guys in the program, the way that he treats his body, he takes care of it, the way he prepares for practice, the way he's out right away working on different things that might be a little bit different than what we did yesterday, or a little bit of a new install. And right away he's in there with, on his iPad, he's got 3 questions. Hey, what are we doing on this? How are we handling that? But he's very detailed in his approach, and I think, that's why he is the player he is, and I think that's why he's going to be very successful in anything he does.
Sorry. And another guy who kind of intriguing is Bobby Pruitt. Just how does he fit kind of into the linebacker rotation? Seems like in practices he's looked very good in like coverage situations. Just how does he fit into that rotation?
Yeah, he's a guy that, from spring football till now, he's one of the guys that have made the most improvement. And he's a very talented, he's a physical football player. He's continuing to get bigger, and he's continuing to play faster. And now he's a guy that, like a lot of like the MAs or different things, maybe in the spring that we had to clean up, that's not showing up on film anymore. Now he's smart, he's handling the checks, he's making calls, he's understanding his alignment, he's understanding his job, his eyes are in the right spot, and he's playing really fast right now. And he's a guy that we can use in multiple spots because he can cover, a running back in space or a tight end in space. We can put him out on a wide receiver, where he can also be in the box. As a box linebacker, because now his hands and his, how physical he's playing at the point of attack right now, is constantly improving from what we saw in the spring. He's a guy we're really excited about this fall.
Corey, what are the key factors you believe a defense needs to have to be successful in the red zone?
Don't let them down there. We talked about 4-point play. For us, it's, we got to create a takeaway or we're going to force a field goal. Obviously, number one, get the ball back. Be obsessed with the ball, strip attempts, second man strip. Ball's in the air, we got to try to take it away. If not, we have to make sure we'll hold them to a field goal in that situation. And that's where, quarterback's going to be a runner. They're going to attack different areas where they have, off the field. The field's not as long, so the vertical game's not there as much. And just getting our guys to understand what plays you now see in the red zone, what styles of offense you now see in the red zone, different things we need to do to take away the quarterback run game. And then personnel shifts may be different down there. And, just having our guys understand those situations and what you're going to see in those situations, and then getting our guys to understand, who we need to take away. That's been the biggest thing in camp as we go. We had one day we were really good in the red zone, the next day we weren't very good. And that's been an area we're looking to constantly improve, since really last season where we were on defense and all the way through camp right now.
How's the pass rush?
3 more questions if you have them.
The pass rush performed through camp so
I think we've been happy right now with our guys up front, really in general. The defensive tackles, the defensive ends, different guys we put in the pass rush game. I think our guys have done a really good job of collapsing the pocket. I think our guys have done a really good job of understanding rush lanes. And I think the speed that we play with to get after the quarterback, I think that's something that, as the season keeps going, I think that's going to be a strength for how we play.
You're a new coordinator, Notre Dame's had a new coordinator. Do you sort of like having this as your first game with your new group, or would you rather have like one of these, maybe a quote-unquote lesser opponent?
Yeah, I mean, it's every year the first game is always, how do we change? Who are we? What are our strengths this year? What is our defense? What's our identity? What's our mentality? And it's going to be the same thing with them. It's different quarterbacks, some different guys in different positions. The perimeter is a little bit different for them. The back's back, but we're going to have to find out. And you get this entire off season, you get to go steal things from other colleges or the NFL or whoever you're talking to, and you get to find out what changes they've made and what they're going to carry over. Same thing with us, what changes we've made, what we're going to carry over, how different is each side of the ball going to be. So the first couple of weeks are always, you go in not knowing as much. You got to adapt early in the game. You got to try to figure out what's going to happen, who's healthy, who the playmakers are, who they're trying to rely on. It'll be the same thing for us. We're going to learn a lot in our first game of exactly who we are. It's always interesting in preseason camp where you go from practice day where there's no bright lights, and then all of a sudden you go to a scrimmage day and some guys are really detailed and nothing changed, and other guys start to get a little more nervous or something sets in. It's just, you know, every day is the same, is the way we gotta treat it. But you'll find out in the opener, hey, you know, and I think we have a lot of guys that are prepared for it. And I know obviously, you know, they'll have the same thing. We'll have a lot of guys prepared for that situation, they've been in that situation. But we gotta find out exactly who they are and what their identity is early in the game. Or later in the year, you have a little bit better feel, you have 3 or 4 games down to start to know who they are in that season. So, you know, I don't know what the best answer is on that.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer.
Having a
Do 2 more,
chance,
we have 2 more.
having a chance to coach with the Hall of Famer Jason Taylor, is he constantly in there telling stories about how he said Jim Kelly and the food?
He has not told those
Not a big
stories.
story.
No, you know, he's awesome. He's a true professional. His detail, the way he attacks it every day. You know, his room is a room that I think is playing really well. And you can tell they're well coached, they're prepared. The way that they attack the field, you know, the way that they come off and try to stop the run, and same thing, the way that they can transition to the pass game. You know, as it is in the room, you know, I'm sure he's got a ton of million stories and all that, but you know, when we're here, it's one of those things where he's a true professional. He does a really good job of developing our players. And you can see the development in some of the guys now that are going to year 3. And then you can see the younger guys, you know, a guy like Third has constantly gotten better every single day, Scroggins. Hayden Lowe, how much he's improving right now. You know, Mondo Blunt, you know, the way that he's taken his game from spring football to now, like, that room's constantly getting better every single day. There's a lot of competition there, and I think that's, you know, attributed to him in the meeting room, in the film room, developing these guys in the offseason, and now going through fall camp, continuing to build that room.
How much of a rotation would you ideally like at safety? Seems like you have 2 older guys that have done it. Who would you say is maybe pushing for DB3?
Yeah, you know, I think there'll definitely be a rotation. You know, I think we've got a lot of different guys that have stepped up, done some different things in situations, whether it's, you know, Dylan Day's been here. You know, Fitz is a guy that constantly makes big plays every single day. You know, he's constantly improving, he's getting better with his technique, he's getting better with his communication. You know, you got Isaiah Taylor's a guy that is always in the right spot, constantly does his job really well, communicates really well. There's a lot of different guys in that room that you can put in different situations. You know, then we got a group of older guys that have been here, that have played really good college football, you know, at the highest level. And they're guys that are getting better every single day, understanding the scheme and what we're trying to do, and understanding the situations and putting our guys in the right spots in those situations. But, you know, that's one of those things where it's, what's the situation in the game? You know, how are we playing? You know, and then as the season goes on, you know, there's going to be guys that are going to play in every room because you never know what's going to happen. You know, with our depth as the season goes on, but we'll play a lot of guys in that spot.
Awesome. Want it there. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.